Good evening, this is BelGeode and we are back with some more first looks. And this time our first look is going to be of Aerofly FS2. For tonight we're going to be using our chariot, which is the FA-18 Charlie model Hornet, and I've based this Hornet here at KSFO, or San Francisco International Airport. As you can see, the moon is starting to come up over the hills there, and we are parked basically at a passenger terminal. However, that's fine. I just wanted to be right here in the thick of it and get an idea of what Aerofly FS2 is actually like. As you can see, I've got an Air Jamaica parked next to me, so naturally I just had to park here. And part of the reason why I chose this location is I've actually been here in real life, so I was really curious to see how Aerofly FS2 modeled their airport terminals. And so far, I gotta say, I am really impressed. Alright, but I really want to show you how this thing flies, so let's go ahead and hop into the cockpit and get started. Now, the first thing that I can tell you about Aerofly FS2 is that it is a sim-lite. Now, what does that even mean? Well, you figure a simulator has all the various features that we, know and love. The ability to do a cold and dark startup, the ability to punch in flight plans, a whole 9 yards. This is a sim-lite, which means it looks really good, and some of the buttons are functional, but you can't do everything. I'll give you an example. I'm trying to mouse over some of the controls that we have here, and you'll notice that most of the switches are dead, except for like the brakes here and the landing lights, the flaps, so on and so forth. Just the basic controls are what you have available to you. So even if I go around the MFD here, you'll see I'm on my SMS or my weapons page. I can't change it from that. I can make adjustments slightly to the HSI page, and of course the upfront controls do work, which those help with autopilot, so I'm not surprised that those work. And then on the right hand side we have this moving map thing that seems to be common to Aerofly FS2, but again, doesn't do anything. Lights do work, so if we wanted to we could turn on like the panel lights and so on. It says it's supposed to be able to scroll, but it doesn't look like it's doing that, so I guess I need to bind a button to it or something like that. Alright, but with that having been said, everything else about this aircraft is freaking beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this bird up, we're going to fly around the San Francisco area, do a couple of maneuvers here, and I'm doing my controls wipe out real quick. Always get into the habit of doing your controls wipeout just to make sure that everything works. And then once we're done doing a little bit of sightseeing and seeing just how Aerofly FS2 handles things, we'll get out of here. Alright, so we are on the move. And we'll say goodbye to our little friend, Mr. British Airways, aka Speedbird, and Mr. Air Jamaica over there. We'll come back and park next to these guys after we land. One thing I do enjoy about this sim or sim-lite is the fact that it does have a pretty sizable area that uses orthophotos. We're going to see that once we take off. One thing you will notice, however, there is no AI traffic in this sim. It's only static traffic. So even though I'm in the habit of looking left and looking right just to make sure there's no traffic coming, there won't ever be any traffic coming. This is all that we've got, is just a static aircraft. The shadows and the shading are all beautiful, and you can see the clouds, they also cast shadows as well on the ground. The clouds, they have work that needs to be done. They're definitely not up to like true sky standards. However, they are still pretty decent. I'd say they're up to X-plane standards. And as you can see, we've got like that little lens flare there from the sun. It's another little visual trick that's done to increase immersion in this sim. So yeah, so far I am really enjoying myself in this thing. That lens flare is just so freaking awesome. You can turn that off, by the way, if it gets a little too obnoxious, which sometimes it can get that way, so it's good to know that we can turn it off. Alright, so we're going to be taking off from runway 1 left, which means we are going to be heading towards the north, and I want to say this should be close to our turnaround here. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to make this our turnaround. This should be the end of the runway. I think the rest of it is just the lead up to the threshold. So yeah, we should be good right about here. And I'm telling you, force of habit, I'm always looking for traffic, but alas, there is none. There's no AI traffic in here. So the skies belong to me. Yay. Alright, everything appears to be good to go. One thing I have noticed is you can never seem to run out of gas. I've never noticed the gas gauge move. So I'm going to take the active here. We'll get into position, and then we'll see how well this bird flies. I will state that one thing that is noticeably missing from Aerofly FS2 are helicopters. I have yet to find any helicopters for this flight sim. I don't know if that's an oversight or if they're coming soon. I have seen some static models of helicopters, so I have to believe at some point in time they're going to work on it. Alright, so here we go. We'll put the brakes on here. And we're just about ready to go. I mentioned earlier that I had been to San Francisco once. It was when I was coming back from Portland, Oregon. I stopped by here. One of the things I really love about this airport is the fact that they've got a restaurant in there. I think it's called a Yankee Pier. Really awesome place to get seafood. In fact, if I remember correctly, that morning I had, of all things, a Tillamook cheddar and Dungeness crab omelet, which was awesome. Alright, but enough of my reminiscing about food. Brake down, throttles up. And we're going. Now rotate speed is going to come quickly. It's about 135 to 140, so right here. And now that we're up, we'll go ahead and get the gear up, as well as the flaps. And already you can see the benefits of having orthophoto scenery as your baseline for your terrain textures. It does kind of work against them. If you look real closely, you can see the water is also an orthophoto, which actually doesn't look that realistic as far as I'm concerned. Better they would have made an actual water texture the same way that X-Plane or FSX, or even War Thunder for that matter, has done. Alright, but we won't hold it against them for right now because this is still a work in progress. Instead, let's do some maneuvers. Let's see, I want to head over to San Mateo, so the easiest way to do that is with a snap roll. And then we'll swing out to the right. We should also gain a little bit of altitude here. What I'll do is I will overfly San Mateo and then turn around and fly back towards the airport. I'm looking to see if there's any like vapor trails or anything. It doesn't look like there have been any modeled in this yet, so I don't know if that is something that's coming as well, or if that was just an oversight on the part of the developers of this flight sim. But I have to say, everything inside the cockpit does look pretty sweet, so I will give them some major bonus points for that. The atmosphere looks cool. You can see the haze off in the distance there. That works. That works. And I particularly chose this time of day because I love late afternoon and sunset. I think that's probably the most beautiful time of the day. So if I'm going to evaluate something or take a first look at something, yeah, I'm going to set it to my favorite time of day just to see how they actually depict it. So far, we're doing pretty good. And there's a San Mateo bridge. Here's one thing that I have to give them some props on. They've modeled all the bridges. Now, granted, Aerofly FS2 does not have the entire world. I mean, you've got the Western US, you've got like New York, you've got Orbix's contributions for Austria, as well as the Switzerland add-on that they included with this, and also Chicago. So they don't have the entire world in there. If they ever manage to do the Eastern US, in particular around my neck of the woods, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there are 237 bridges in my town, and I would love to see somebody actually model them in a flight sim, because you know me, I'll fly under every last one of them. Except maybe the Fort Pitt Bridge. I think it's got enough things going under there. Alright, we are over San Mateo now, and there's the airport there, so we'll head back towards the airport. And I'm real curious to see what it looks like inside this cloud. Clouds are another thing that I judge a sim based on, and so far they're kind of hit or miss when it comes to flight sims. This feels nice, though. This actually feels like we just flew through a cloud, so this is decent. I like this. Alright, and there we have the airport. Let's take another look at San Francisco International Airport. Because I was inverted. And yeah, their modeling is definitely up to par. They've got everything down pat. Very nice. I guess it helps to have, you know, the ortho photos as a reference so you know exactly where everything goes. Plus, I'm sure there's probably like a million pictures of San Francisco. Speaking of which, there is downtown San Francisco. That is going to be our next stop in the tour. So let's hit the deck. And we'll come over the bay. And as I was mentioning earlier about the bridges, I think it's about time we test this theory to see if we can go under any of these bridges. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like from an outside view. So let's do that real quick here. And then we'll hop back in the cockpit and go under the bridge. Okay, so directly ahead we've got the Oakland Bridge, or the Oakland Bay Bridge, I think is what it's called. And I, of course, am going to try and see if I can go under it. Now, I'm pretty sure that they have modeled like crashes and so on in this sim. However, I've been doing this kind of shenanigans often enough in multiple flight simulators that I think I should be able to pull it off. All we need to do is hit the deck. And of course, I'm going to cheat a little bit by going to the outside view when we actually do it. Alley-up. And let's bring it back down. I'm not going to go under the bridge. I may be crazy, but I'm not stupid. But I am going to fly a little bit over it, so that way we can take a closer look at downtown San Francisco and, of course, Alcatraz Island up ahead. So look at that. That's pretty awesome. We've got the shadows on the buildings. We've got the light reflecting off the glass in the buildings. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Alright, we're about to overfly Alcatraz, and I kind of want you to see it, so I'm going to swing out a little bit to the right, and then we'll circle around the island here. Alright, there we go. The infamous Alcatraz Island, which is, of course, home to the Alcatraz prison. Damn, that looks real. I'm not even going to lie, folks. That looks real. Now see, if Aerofly FS2 had helicopters in here, I could actually fly a helicopter out here and try and land on one of those little concrete areas. And that would be pretty cool. But yeah, modeling, obviously these guys know what the hell they're doing. They just need to concentrate on some of the more finer points to make sure that they've got everything accurate. Because it's more than just the big cities that need love. You know, some of the smaller areas around the U.S. could use some love as well. And the fact that they've only got the western U.S. so far, with the exception, of course, of Chicago and New York, yeah, that kind of speaks volumes as to the amount of work that they've got left to do. But up ahead, there is a landmark that needs no introduction. That is, of course, San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. And you may notice I'm a little too high to go under it. Not to worry, folks. I intend to fix that. First, we're going to go out to sea. And then I will do kind of like a half Cuban 8, which is basically an Immelman where I come back down to the deck. So we're going to give it a little bit of speed here. Right about here should do nicely. We'll pass this point. Okay, I don't know about you folks, but I think it's time to get vertical. Ah, that is so cool. Unfortunately, the video that you're watching really does not do it justice compared to what I'm seeing right now in the Oculus Rift. It is incredible. It's totally immersive, totally smooth. I don't know what kind of frames per second I'm getting because there's no way for me to actually see it in the Oculus Rift without removing my headset and, you know, checking one of the things that I've got using to record, most notably DX Story. But yeah, you can take my word for it. This is smooth as silk. This is one of the smoothest VR experiences that I've had so far out of any flight sim. Alright, but here is the Golden Gate Bridge, and I think we are just low enough. Yep, we did it. Okay, let's go vertical, and I want to see if I can locate an airport that I have shown off before in one of my newer series, that being the Purple Hat Tours. The very first episode that I did, probably the only episode that's been up so far, unless I remember to upload the other two that I've been working on, was for Half Moon Bay, which is literally just on the other side of the mountain from San Francisco International Airport. So what we're going to do here is we're going to fly past downtown San Francisco and all associated suburbs. We're going to go over that mountain directly ahead and to the left, and we're going to see if we can spot Half Moon Bay, because, like I said before, even though it seems like Aerofly FS2 has given a lot of love to the major cities, there are still some areas that could definitely use some work. Here's another prime example of something that I think could use some work. That's a picture of the shoreline, and it just, to me, looks fake. It needs the motion of the waves here. They've got the colorations right, they've got the texturing right, they just need a little bit more to really push it over the edge. Maybe they need some wave animation. They definitely need some surf and so on and so forth, which I know can be done because FSX has done it for years, and even War Thunder has surf in there. So if they were able to add stuff like that to this, that would definitely increase the realism of the water. Alright, let me see where we are. Okay, on my little HSI you see KHAF, that is of course Half Moon Bay, so we're going to check out Half Moon Bay and see how they represented it, if it matches up to what we've seen so far in the X-Plane 11 version. I do like these mountain peaks though. Yeah, that's one thing that they've done right, is they've definitely done right by the mountains. That being the Pacific Coast Highway though, I'm not sure I'd want to drive on that. That looks awfully rough and wobbly there. Yeah, I'm not sure if they can smooth that out. But I don't recall the Pacific Coast Highway looking like that. That's a little dangerous looking. Alright, directly ahead folks is Half Moon Bay. And let's see if we can overfly the runway and take a gander at what they were able to model and what they missed. Okay, first thing I notice, looks like all the runways and taxiways are in position. It's missing the Half Moon Bay words on the runway. I don't see the cafe, and looks like they also missed the trailer park. Only a few buildings are modeled. They didn't model the entire trailer park. That's a big thing that's missing. That's that radar site that's watching out for ICBMs. And it looks like most of the marina is just basically a flat picture. So, areas of opportunity for the devs of Aerofly FS2. If they can, like, put some boat models in there and do up some more 3D buildings. Which, don't get me wrong, I like the 3D buildings that they have in here so far. But it seems like they could use a bit more. Alright, swinging back out towards the airport. We are going to go over this hill, or this mountain if you will. Once we get around the other side, we should be able to see San Francisco International in that direction. Right about there, I would imagine. In the meantime, we'll overfly Half Moon. And I want to take a look at some of these trees down here, because this actually This is major brownie points with me. You know how I am when it comes to trees. I will crucify you if your trees look like crap, and I will give you tremendous praise if they look really good. These look really good. These appear to be completely 3D trees. So here's what I don't get. If the devs can make 3D trees that look like that, what's the problem with the water texture? I don't know. Alright, I'm going to put the flaps down and the gear down, and we're going to begin our approach to San Francisco International Airport. Because I don't want this to be too long of a video, I just want to give you like a first look, or my first look. Okay, so we've got flaps down to full, and our speed is looking decent. Landing speed is probably going to be about 130. We are clean, so we're a little bit lighter than normal. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't look like this sim takes into consideration how much gas you've got on board. Otherwise, our weight would certainly be a factor, but it doesn't appear that that is the case. Yet another area of opportunity. I know that they recently brought out the Dash 8 Q400. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet to see if they've taken into consideration some of the aspects that would make it more like a study sim. But I can certainly do that for one of my next flights and get back to you on that. But at least for this aircraft, I know that we definitely can go a little bit lighter on speed than we would in real life. You can see right now I'm at 125, and I'm trying to make sure that I am lining up with the runway there. I want to say it is directly ahead and to the right, so I'm going to follow this ridge here and that highway off to the right. And then we should just be able to make a sharp right turn and come in on runway 1 left, which will be the same runway that we took off from. But yeah, overall, I have to say, I'm quite surprised with Aerofly FS2. I really didn't know what to expect. I mean, I've been watching this title for quite some time now, and really the only thing that appealed to me was the fact that they were getting into VR. Now that I've had the experience in VR, I can definitely see where this thing's got a lot of potential. And it sounds like the developers do take their work seriously and do plan on adding a hell of a lot more to this. So I wish them the best of luck, and I'm going to continue to watch and support this title. It'll be real curious to see if they come out with like a Caribbean package, because I'm going to be judging really harshly on how they pull off Jamaica. Alright, but there is the runway that we're looking for. There's one right and one left. One left is the slightly grayer looking one. So we're going to come into final. I'm also keeping an eye on my AOA indexer, which is to the left of the HUD. You can see right now I've got the yellow donut, which is what we want for our proper glide slope, if you will. But again, remember, since we're kind of light, I'm definitely going to want to lower our speed a little bit, and I'm probably going to be playing around with the angle of attack as we come in. We do have a slight crosswind. You can set weather in this thing, however, it is not full real-world weather. It's kind of like along the lines of Flight Sim World, where you pretty much set your weather and then you just go flying. Hopefully that is something that will change in the future. I think every single simulator should have the capability to set real-world weather. But the time is definitely moving on, so I believe like 27 minutes have elapsed since I took off. Alright, AOA indexer says we're a little bit low and slow, but that's okay. We're at the right speed, 134 knots. Okay, let's bring this bird home. A little bit of flare, and power to idle. There we go. Just like that, we are down. Okay, I'm going to pull the speed brakes all the way out. And we'll go ahead and give some love taps on the brakes as we slow ourselves down. So there you go, folks. This is Aerofly FS2. I have to say, I wasn't 100% certain what to expect when I actually put the money down on this thing and bought it off of Steam, but I gotta say I'm pretty impressed. I am pretty impressed. It's not perfect, not by a long shot. It's got a long ways to go before it can compete with the likes of X-Plane or FSW or P3D or, you know, any of the other major flight sims out there, including the legacy ones like FSX, FSX Steam Edition. However, with that having been said, I would say they are off to a really phenomenal start. And especially with the VR aspect being native to it, they're already leaps and bounds ahead of most sims. Now, I know the history of this sim. It actually started as an iOS port over. However, I don't think that's something that should necessarily be held against them, because they've basically taken the ball and run with it. I mean, look at what you're seeing here. As crisp and clear as what you are seeing here is, and granted, remember, you're only seeing what's coming to my right eye in the Oculus Rift. Imagine what I'm seeing inside this thing with both eyes. It's pretty freaking impressive. So yeah, not bad for a bunch of developers that started out with this thing basically based on a cell phone. To bring it to the PC market, which is already dominated by such giants as P3D and FSX and all of them, and to actually be able to carve out a little niche is definitely worthy of respect. And it doesn't sound like these guys are planning on stopping anytime soon. And since they've already got the blessing of John and Orbix, yeah, things can only go up from here. So it'll be really interesting to see what becomes of Aerofly FS2. But I can tell you, if they ever bring a Tomcat to this thing, I am 100% sold. Alright, but that will do it for me, so thank you as always for watching. This has been BelGeode with another first look, and this time our first look is of Aerofly FS2. If you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I will be back with some more Aerofly FS2 at some point in time in the near future when I have some more cool and interesting things to show you. Until then, I will see you all later. Ciao!